Hello, everybody. Oh, my Lord. I had my microphone in the wrong place. I've got everything else prepared just in time, just barely in time, and then I had my microphone clear across my desk. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody. It's that time once again. It is time for Mild's Culture Plate. Ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, cuckolds of all ages. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got a good show for you today. It is, Wednesday, November 22nd, 2023. Sorry about my squeaky chair. Wednesday, November 22nd, 2023. And wow, we have an interesting show for you today. Before I get into that, I do want to invite everyone to join me later tonight. I will be joining Talk with Sally. The link is down in the description. If you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble, links to her channels are down in the description. So you could follow me over there. It's going to be about an hour after this show ends. She's going to be going live. Oh, I'm getting a notification that channel I'm following on Rumble just went live, and it just happens to be my own. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to be talking about the not terror attack that happened in New York today. We're going to be talking about, singers getting sued for the bad touch, right? We're also going to be talking about an interesting article that Forbes put out about a couple weeks ago that gained a little attention when it went live, but it's sort of has now went viral a couple weeks later. Now people are a little more outraged about it. Let's see. There was another. No. Okay, I don't know. I had another thing brought up and now it's not here and I don't remember what it was. Anyway, so as always, if you're in the chat, just as James Hunsinger is. Okay. Yep. James Hunsinger says, can we start with the good news? Eagles winning Monday night. Yeah, that's fine. Winning in February will still be determined, but the Eagles did win Monday night. The Chiefs played horribly, and so I don't really talk sports on this channel, but as a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, I do have to say the Chiefs played horribly. They did get outplayed by the Eagles, and congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for having the best record in football right now. I will say I don't I see a lot of Chiefs fans being real salty about the receivers, and don't get me wrong, I also like the receivers on the Chiefs are all butterfingers. Okay, I am turning the sound off of my phone. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, they have butterfingers, but at the same time, I blame Andy Reid because Andy Reid as a coach, and Eagles fans could probably attest to this. He likes the flashy passing plays, and when the run game is working, he will abandon it. And Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back, was eating first downs like candy, and all of a sudden the Chiefs just stopped running the football, and they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. So congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles, and cheers, James. Good having you in the chat, man. Welcome. Okay, and we have over on Rumble. Let's see here. We have Squishy Hunter, who has come to say the N-word, and then followed that up with the word nuclear. So, cheers, Squishy Hunter. And we have yet another chatter over on Rumble. Sanglant86, welcome to you as well. Cheers. And we're going to get into the topics now, because I can't just sit here and drink all night. Let's start with something. Oh, which one? Yeah, let's start with this one. Let's start with something lighthearted. Before we get into the doom and gloom of the day, let's start with something lighthearted. This is from the New York Post. Wild video shows naked woman attacking travelers at a Chilean airport. And I just want to take this moment to say, if anyone who looks like this woman if a naked woman wants to greet me at the Reed Airport in Las Vegas, you'll know when I'm there, because I'll probably announce it on my show. But
we out.
Oh shit! She pulled the bitch down by her hair.
We out.
Oh, now she's down. What the hell? Oh, I should probably take the Sanglant's comment off the screen there. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, the video is over. Baby otter survives an orca attack. Who cares? Okay, so a naked woman apparently on psychedelic drugs was caught on camera running through a Chilean airport and violently attacking other passengers before getting arrested by the police. Footage taken by bewildered travelers shows the bare naked woman calmly stroking her hair before suddenly racing toward people milling about at the Nuevo Pudajel airport in Pudajel outside Santiago, Chile. The woman then enters the airport car park, where she begins to screech and jump up and down. She suddenly grabs the ponytail of an unsuspecting woman trying to walk by alongside of a man, violently pulling the woman to the floor. The crazed woman then lies down, positioning her bare stomach against the concrete as bewildered travelers look on in horror. Airport security staff in bright orange vests can be seen quietly watching but not taking action as the crazy clip ends. Wow, look, she's kissing this guy. So yeah, again, if you want to show up to Las Vegas, to Harry Reid Airport next time I go to Vegas, and greet me like this, yeah, I highly approve. Any public nudity by, visually appealing women. According to the news agency, the woman consumed hallucinogenic mushrooms at a party before heading to the airport on November 16th when the incident occurred. She was later arrested by the police and may face charges for her bizarre actions, the Central European News Agency reported. All right, so we have that. I wanted to start with something lighthearted. Stop sharing. Okay, that can go away. So let's see what Fox News has to say and watch a little bit of the video. about what happened at Rainbow Bridge at Niagara Falls today. Now, this was initially reported as a potential terrorist attack. A potential terrorist attack. Oh my. Sorry, still trying to bring it up, but in the meantime here, let's do that. Okay. And now the governor of New York has come back and said, no, this is not a terrorist attack. This appears to be something else entirely. What the heck? The video's not playing now. Reboot. Refresh. Okay, now we got a black bar across the top of the screen. Here, let's just full screen it. Okay, so look in the background here. Oh, did you see it? It went sailing. Right there. Sailing. Okay. All right, now how do I get out of this? All right. The FBI is investigating a vehicle explosion that occurred Wednesday at the Rainbow Bridge border crossing between U.S. and Canada. The vehicle was heading from the U.S. to Canada and was going in the direction of the border officer building, sources told Fox News' Alexis McAdams. I gotta know what this Alexis McAdams looks like. Sorry. Here, let me search for her. Okay. Okay, this is Alexis McAdams here. Her. Okay. I always want to know who these news reporters are. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Alexis McAdams was told by sources that the explosion was so big and fierce that authorities first thought it was a terrorist attack. New York Governor Kathy Hochul. By the way, there's some news out there about her this week that I just didn't have time to cover. Said that the incident happened at 11:27 a.m. when someone driving a car crashed into the median at the border crossing. She added that there's, quote, no sign that the incident was a terrorist attack, adding that a, quote, local individual was involved and that both people inside the car died. There is no evidence at the time that this was terrorist activity, and that's what I want to make very clear to the public, Hochul said. Hochul said. Alexis McAdams or whoever, yeah, whoever edited this, yeah, Hochul said. Oh. And then there's some pictures of the aftermath. Ooh, look at all that debris. The international border crossing between Canada and Western New York were closed after the reported incident, which has also injured at least one person, a 27-year-old male who was taken to Niagara Falls Memorial Hospital with minor injuries, including back pain and minor cuts. His condition is not severe. Quote, the FBI Buffalo Field Office is investigating a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge, a border crossing between U.S. and Canada, the FBI said in a statement. Surveillance video released by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol shows a car going airborne before exploding. CPB Field Director Rose Brophy said at a press conference that one officer from the agency was taken to a local hospital for minor injuries but was later released. FBI Special Agent in Charge Matthew Miraglia said they have a, quote, subject in mind regarding who is driving the car and said there's no further threat to the area. U.S. Attorney Trini E. Ross said the FBI's initial assessment is that the incident wasn't terrorism related. We will continue to investigate, but our preliminary assessment of the situation is that it was not terrorism related, Ross said. Okay, so again, editor. She said it wasn't terrorism related, and then you have the quote where she says it's not terrorism related. You don't need to fucking repeat yourself. Jesus, Lord. The FBI is coordinating with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners in this investigation. As this situation is very fluid, that's all we can say at this time. The Rainbow Bridge connects Niagara Falls, New York with Niagara Falls, Canada. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said in a statement that she's traveling to Buffalo. I've been briefed on the situation that occurred in Rainbow Bridge at Niagara Falls, she said. At my direction, New York State Police is actively working with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force to monitor all points of entry into New York. I am traveling to Buffalo to meet with law enforcement and emergency responders and will update New Yorkers when more information comes available. Okay, now here's the video of the explosion. Okay, so we saw the car go airborne in the other video. Now here we get to see it fly across and blow the hell up. Oh, boom. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, you just watched two people die. You just watched two people die in a fiery ball of... And now it's going to repeat. Boom. Is this just going to repeat over and over and over again? Yeah, that's all this does is repeats over and over and over again. Okay. Eric Adams said the NYPD has enhanced security. The NYPD and our team have been closely monitoring the situation on the ground, blah, blah, blah. Peace Bridge, Lewiston, Queenston Bridge, and Whirlpool Bridge were closed as the incident was investigated. Buffalo Airport said in a statement that travelers can expect additional security measures. The FAA later announced that Buffalo International Airport was closed to all arriving and departing international flights. Quote, in response to the incident that is unfolding at Rainbow Bridge, the NFTA is increasing security system-wide. Cars coming into the Buffalo Airport will undergo security checks and travelers can expect additional screenings. The Buffalo and Niagara Falls airports are fully operational. We advise travelers to give themselves time for these extra precautions in addition to the holiday travel, the airport said. Senator Chuck Schumer said in a statement that he's closely monitoring the situation, which now they repeat what they just said. Senator Kristen Gillibrand wrote, because of the situation, the Rainbow Bridge and Peace Bridge are now closed. Please avoid the area and follow guidance of law enforcement and first responders. Okay. So here we go. You know, what was initially thought to be a terror attack, and I was following Twitter at the time, or X rather, and a lot of people were really concerned that America was once again being attacked. And speaking of being attacked, let me just take just a moment, and I'm sure most of the people watching already are aware of this, but the Diddy lawsuit, the Cassie Diddy lawsuit has been settled. We covered this on the show last week, and literally the next day, there was a settlement reached. We don't know a whole lot about the settlement. There was an interesting broadcast last night on Ricada Law, where he talked to AV to the see, Seventh Power, I think it's her name is. She's the co-host of Lead Attorney, so you can find her over on Lead Attorney's channel. But last night on Ricada Law, they were covering this case, and one of the things that both of these lawyers had mentioned on that broadcast last night when they were breaking down this is that it almost seemed like the filing, the lawsuit, the language within the lawsuit, and some of the things that were alleged, like they weren't necessarily talking to the court or lawyers, they were talking to the press and the public. Like they weren't really alleging things for a judge to find factual or for a jury to determine, but they were more trying to get eyes in the media and in the general public to see the document and the allegations made and create news stories. And this next news story I'm going to bring up, this is from Us Weekly, which I hate covering tabloid shit. But I found this to be very an interesting thought experiment, because I'm in the business of political philosophy, so to speak. I like thinking about the inner workings of things. And lawyers kind of like to do the same thing. So I want to cover this story from Us Weekly because I think it ties in really well to what Avi and Ricada were talking about last night over on the Ricada Law Channel. And so this is an opinion kind of tabloid kind of thing. And so this says Cassie, quote, ran out of time filing lawsuit against Diddy, resulting in quick settlement, says legal expert. Now, mind you, this isn't one of the lawyers. This whole thing is going to have a lot of quotes from a lawyer. And this is not one of the lawyers in the case. This is just another random internet lawyer analyzing things. But I do find these takes kind of interesting. Cassie settled her lawsuits against ex Sean Diddy Combs just one day after the news broke that she'd accused her ex-boyfriend of past sexual assault and abuse. The speed of the settlement was likely due to legal restrictions, according to attorney Nia Ramani. This has to be one of the fastest settlements in American history. We're talking about one day, Ramani exclusively told Us Weekly on Tuesday, after taking a look at the case. The reason that this lawsuit was settled was probably the reason it was filed in the first place. Cassie ran out of time. The lawyer, who is not part of Cassie's legal team, explained to us that some of her allegations were, quote, a little bit older, meaning the statute of limitations had run out. However, in New York, there's a law that opened the statute of limitations to file civil lawsuits and sexual assault cases. That window closed this week on November 24th, Ramani said, noting Cassie was up against the clock and the parties really were unable to finalize their negotiations before that window was going to close. So she was forced to file a lawsuit. Once Cassie did file her lawsuit on Thursday, Ramani said he felt that Diddy saw the writing on the wall, realized that this is going to cost him a lot, not just in terms of legal fees, but his reputation, so he quickly settled it. The exact reason for the quick negotiations, however, may not be revealed as the proceedings happen behind closed doors, as most of these cases, as do most cases of this kind, according to the lawyer. They're confidential. They're not public, Ramani told Us Weekly, pointing out that Cassie was reportedly asking for $30 million in damages and claimed that Diddy's legal team made her an 8-figure offer which he did not accept. Ramani continued, for someone like Diddy, who's reportedly worth almost $1 billion, writing a check for 10 or even 20 million to save his reputation and avoid litigation with someone he was in a relationship with for so long was probably the right move. And now here's going into the history of it a little bit. But anyway, Ramani told Us Weekly on Tuesday, that the speed at which Diddy's case was finalized isn't necessarily an admission of guilt. Ultimately, there's going to be confidentiality. There's going to be non-disparagement provisions. No one's going to say anything. And as embarrassing as a settlement like this is, a public trial and have this drag on for months or years would have done far more harm to Diddy's reputation. So pretty much same thing here. Diddy's lawyer Ben Brafman insisted on Tuesday, November 18th, that the settlement does not indicate that his client took part in any of the alleged acts. Just so we're clear, a decision to settle a lawsuit is in no way an admission of wrongdoing. Brafman shared a statement to Us Weekly. Mr. Combs' decision to settle the lawsuit does not in any way undermine his flat-out denial of the claims. He is happy they got to a mutual settlement and wishes Miss Ventura the best. One day prior, Cassie's attorney, Douglas Wigdor, released a statement on her behalf, sharing that the singer decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control. I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support. Diddy also released a statement on Friday via Wigdor that read, we have decided to resolve this matter amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the best. Love. Okay. And so again, hopefully I do not have to click on Us Weekly again for days, but I did want to kind of cover that. And also, in creepy sexual abuse singing news, we have now Axl Rose being sued by a former model who alleges, and this is from the Los Angeles Times here, alleged Axl Rose did the bad touch to her in 1989 in New York. Axl Rose has been named in a new lawsuit that accuses Guns N' Roses singer of assaulting model Sheila Kennedy in 1989. Through his attorney, the performer has denied the allegations. In court documents filed Wednesday in New York and obtained by the LA Times, Kennedy alleged that Rose, quote, used his fame, status, and power as a celebrity and performer in the music industry to gain access to manipulate, control, and violently bad touch. According to the former Penthouse cover model, yeah, you read that right. Penthouse cover model. She and Axl Rose met at a New York City nightclub in early 1989, went back to his hotel room, where they initially engaged in consensual touching activities. Things quickly escalated to an uncomfortable and violent place for her, the lawsuit says. Kennedy alleged that at one point in the encounter, Rose threw her on the floor, dragged her across his suite, tied her hands behind her back, and then forcibly engaged with her while not wearing protection. Got DNL Minters in the chat. And I keep forgetting my banners are still up. I'm sorry, folks. I don't mean to leave these comments on the screen as long as I have been. I'm just trying here. Anyway, DNL Minters, welcome, brother, and cheers. Cheers. Always good to see you in the chat. Yep. Axl, yes. He treated her like his property, solely used for his pleasure, the filing said. It added that Kennedy has suffered a lifelong effects due to the alleged altercations. Kennedy has been diagnosed with anxiety and depression because of Rose's assault. Kennedy's assault and the trauma it caused has hurt her earnings and earning capacity. To be nude magazines. Finally, Rose's assault has caused Kennedy issues with physical and emotional intimacy, Kennedy's ability to trust men, form healthy relations. Again, posing nude in magazines. Participating, trusting, and safe encounters was irreversibly impacted. Rose's attorney, Alan Gutman, firmly denied Kennedy's allegations in a statement to the Times. Again, it sounds like what she went through is pretty horrific. I mean, Me Too is kind of an interesting situation with some of these, and definitely consenting to these kinds of activities does not consent to an escalation of those activities and being physically drug around and forcibly relationed with, right? I want to make that clear. But at the same time, if you're claiming that, you have these additional damages because of sexual trauma, and yet you did that for a living, and you're saying, you're having problems getting relationships and stuff like that, but you were doing that for a living beforehand. I don't know, man. Call me old-fashioned, call me, sexist or whatever. I think it's a little silly. I think doing porn is kind of bad for your relationship prospects and such. Rose's attorney firmly denied Kennedy's allegations. Rose's attorney Alan Gutman firmly denied Kennedy's allegations in a statement to the Times. Quote, simply put, this incident never happened, period. Notably, these fictional claims were filed the day before the New York State filing deadline expires. Huh, interesting. We just heard a story about that. Though he does not deny the possibility of a fan photo taken in passing, Mr. Rose has no recollection of ever meeting or speaking to the plaintiff and has never heard about these fictional allegations prior to today. Mr. Rose is confident this case will be resolved in his favor. In the 2021 documentary Looking Away, which focused on the abuse of young women and girls in the rock music industry, Kennedy recalled an account very similar to the one she alleges in her filing against Rose. Rose's ex-wife, Erin Everly, sued the rocker in L.A. in '94 for assault and battery, sexual battery, false imprisonment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. That case was settled out of court. Everly's legal action came after another one of Rose's exes, former model Stephanie Seymour, subpoenaed Everly in her own case against the singer. Seymour and Rose sued each other alleging abuse. That case was also settled. Kennedy was able to file her legal complaint due to New York's Adult Survivors Act, which created a 1-year, quote, look-back window during which adults who allege they were abused, sexually abused, could sue despite the statute of limitations having run out. The window for people to file legal action under the act closes this week. Rose is the latest in a line of music industry's personalities who've been named in high-profile claims of SA under the New York Act, including former Academy top executive Neil Portnoy, former Arista and Epic Records chief L.A. Reid, Aerosmith singer Steven Tyler, and Sean Diddy Combs. Okay, so we've now went from Diddy to Axl Rose, and Me Too is still coming for successful men. Well, ladies and gentlemen, okay, so that was heavy. And I've been talking and reading a lot, so I want to take a little break. Our two main, and when I say take a little break, I'm not stopping the show. The show's going to keep going, but I wanted to take a few minutes. I'm gonna play a video because today is the 60th anniversary of the assassination of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And I'm wearing my shirt here. Because he tried to issue greenbacks and take some of the power away from the Federal Reserve. He tried to issue some gold-backed currency in the United States. He takes some of the power away from the bankers. And shortly after that, he was murdered. And that whole plan just kind of went by the wayside. And so let me play this on, I'm going to play this on 1.25 speed because it's a 20-minute speech, 20-minute video here. And I found this on YouTube, so you could always find it on YouTube. But this is John F. Kennedy's Secret Society speech. I wanted to just kind of play that, just to kind of celebrate it, and then we'll get into the other topic of the day, which is this Whiteness article from Forbes, and then we'll wrap up the show. And so let's go ahead and listen to this here speech from President Kennedy. I might stop it and react a couple times, but I'm going to try to rush through this.
I appreciate very much your generous invitation to be here tonight. You bear heavy responsibilities these days, and the article I read some time ago reminded me of how particularly heavily the burdens of present-day events bear upon your profession. You may remember that in 1851, the New York Herald Tribune, under the sponsorship and publishing of Horace Greeley, employed as its London correspondent an obscure journalist by the name of Karl Marx. We are told that foreign correspondent Marx, stone broke, and with a family ill and undernourished, constantly appealed to Greeley and managing editor Charles Dana for an increase in his munificent salary of $5 per installment, a salary which he and Ingalls ungratefully labeled as the lousiest petty bourgeois cheating. But when all his financial appeals were refused, Marx looked around for other means of livelihood and fame, eventually terminating his relationship with the Tribune and devoting his talents full-time to the cause that would bequeath to the world the seeds of Leninism, Stalinism, revolution, and the Cold War. If only this capitalistic New York newspaper had treated him more kindly, if only Marx had remained a foreign correspondent, history might have been different.
Exactly.
And I hope all publishers will bear this lesson in mind the next time they receive a poverty-stricken appeal from a small increase in the expense account from an obscure newspaper man. I have selected as the title of my remarks tonight, The President and the Press. Some may suggest that this would be more naturally worded, the President versus the press, but those are not my sentiments tonight. It is true, however, that when a well-known diplomat from another country demanded recently that our State Department repudiate certain newspaper attacks on his colleague, it was unnecessary for us to reply that this administration was not responsible for the press, for the press had already made it clear that it was not responsible for this administration.
Yeah, this was the press club speech. This isn't...
Nevertheless, my purpose here tonight is not to deliver the usual assault on the so-called one-party press. On the contrary, in recent months, I have rarely heard any complaints about political bias in the press, except from a few Republicans. Nor is it my purpose tonight to discuss or defend the televising of presidential press conferences. I think it is highly beneficial to have some 20 million Americans regularly sit in on these conferences to observe, if I may say so, the incisive, the intelligent, and the courteous qualities displayed by your Washington correspondents. Nor, finally, are these remarks intended to examine the proper degree of privacy which the press should allow to any president and his family. If, in the last few months, your White House reporters and photographers have been attending church services with regularity, that has surely done them no harm.
Wow, basically calling out the press for being atheists.
I realize that your staff and wire service photographers may be complaining that they do not enjoy the same green privileges, the local golf courses, which they once did. It is true that my predecessor did not object, as I do, to pictures of one's golfing skill in action. But neither, on the other hand, did he ever be a Secret Service man. My topic tonight is a more sober one, of concern to publishers as well as editors. I want to talk about our common responsibilities in the face of a common danger. The events of recent weeks may have helped to illuminate that challenge for some, but the dimensions of its threat have loomed large on the horizon for many years. Whatever our hopes may be for the future, for reducing this threat or living with it, there is no escaping either the gravity or the totality of its challenge to our survival and to our security. A challenge that confronts us in unaccustomed ways in every sphere of human activity. This deadly challenge imposes upon our society two requirements of direct concern, both to the press and to the president. Two requirements that may seem almost contradictory in tone, but which must be reconciled and fulfilled if we are to meet this national peril. I refer first to the need for far greater public information, and second, to the need for far greater official secrecy. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restriction.
I just want to take one moment right there. This is the part where I wanted to pause and say that whoever the president coming in 2024 is going to be it Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald J. Trump, Joseph Biden, or Gavin Newsom, whoever it might be, I want to make this appeal. Please, please pardon Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and anyone else who may have leaked important but whistleblowing information to the American public about what our government is doing. Whistleblowers are our eyes into our government, which is supposed to be we the people. It's supposed to be a government for the people, of the people, and by the people. And if we the people can't see what's going on without fear of the people reporting it, being thrown in prison or exiled for the rest of their lives, then we do not have a free country or a free press. So, cheers to Assange and Snowden, and cheers to President John F. Kennedy.
Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion.
Wow.
Our way of life
Not
is under
declared
attack.
in the traditional fashion.
Those who make themselves
We've not
our enemy
declared war
are
since this
advancing
man's
around
been
the globe.
president.
The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence,
Yes.
on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
Now, oftentimes on this show, if you've watched me for any number of time, you've probably heard me say this. But as a quote conspiracy theorist, right? I'm often asked, how do you define the New World Order? And I define it essentially as it's got two parts. One is the definition of the term itself, and that is an over idealistic version of a future world in which freedom isn't aspired to, but handed out like privileges from a technocracy dictatorship. And so then you ask, well, what is the conspiracy? Who's pushing this conspiracy? And I always say, the New World Order, the actual order itself is an order of banks, politicians, corporations, and the press working hand in hand at the detriment of the American people and of the people of the world. And so I find it interesting that his description here of a system which has conscripted human and material resources, and then goes on to say efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political. I mean, a lot of those things, the economic, of course, is the bank, political operations, that's going to be your media, and then military, diplomatic, and intelligence, and scientific, that's all your corporations and politicians right there. So he's kind of describing the same thing I'm describing. You have a global elite pushing for these things. Okay, and we're about halfway through. I need to kind of hurry up and burn through this if I'm going to get to that other story.
Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Now, think
No
about what's
expenditure
going
is
on
questioned,
right now
no
on
rumor is
X.
printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security.
Yeah, that was the other story that I closed the window of earlier. I was going to talk just a little bit about what's going on with Elon Musk and Media Matters. Now, if you're not familiar, Media Matters essentially put out a hit piece showing screenshots of people saying anti-Semitic things on X, alongside ads on X from various corporations, including IBM. Now, IBM has since withdrawn, and I think two other companies, big companies, and I don't have the article in front of me now, two other big companies have now withdrawn their advertising from X. Elon Musk allegedly has now filed a lawsuit, claiming, I believe the claim was for tortious interference. But in the lawsuit, he alleges that the screenshots were genuine, but were created using manipulative methods, meaning like the Media Matters account that took the screenshot was not only following the extremist accounts, but had to like go to that page and click refresh, refresh, refresh until they saw these ads for larger companies popping up. And that these were sort of an organic ad distribution and not necessarily specifically served to the supremacist community by X. And since then, there have been a lot of sort of activist types on X who have now committed to advertising on X and who have committed to spending several $1,000s. I won't get into all of their names, but it's interesting that the way he's talking about media here in the 1960s, and we're still seeing the media use the same kind of subversion tactics right here, over 60 years later. And we've been none the our masses among this country have been none the wiser about to the depths in which their media has lied to them. And as much as they are aware, they think it's just a mistake and not subversion on purpose. And I think, we need to really, we as freedom loving conservatives and libertarians, we need to really engage our fellow man in this conversation of the media is a bunch of lying fucking hypocrites. And if we're not willing to say that to our neighbors, our friends, our family, I'm not saying go to Thanksgiving and get in arguments with your cousin or whatever. But just, anytime someone brings up, well, yeah, I saw so and so on the Tonight Show. Well, you know what? I don't watch the Tonight Show. It's a bunch of garbage and lies and bullshit. Anyway, so.
And the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attack as well as outright invasion.
The info
war, the facts
war,
of the matter
brother.
are that this nation's foes have openly boasted of acquiring through our newspapers information they would otherwise hire agents to acquire through theft, bribery, or espionage. That details of this nation's covert preparations to counter the enemy's covert operations have been available to every newspaper reader, friend and foe alike. That the size, the strength, the location, and the nature of our forces and weapons, and our plans and strategy for their use, have all been pinpointed in the press and other news media to a degree sufficient to satisfy any foreign power. And that in at least one case, the publication of details concerning a secret mechanism whereby satellites were followed.
Okay, he's clearly talking about, future military conflict, right? But, what he's saying really bears some understanding in today's context. He's not just talking about the New World Order. He's also talking about the the possibility that our own media and the ways in which our media reports on things and the ways in which our politicians talk about things are actually helping countries like China and Russia in the long run. And if you look at, the policies of our banking system and our economic system here in the United States, we're basically begging other countries to become a part of the BRICS economic union.
Required its alteration at the expense of considerable time and money. The newspapers which printed these stories were loyal, patriotic, responsible, and well-meaning. Had we been engaged in open warfare, they undoubtedly would not have published such items. But in the absence of open warfare, they recognized only the tests of journalism and not the tests of national security. And my question tonight is whether additional tests should not now be adopted. That question is for you alone to answer. No public official should answer it for you. No governmental plan should impose its restraints against your will. But I would be failing in my duty to the nation in considering all of the responsibilities that we now bear and all of the means at hand to meet those responsibilities if I did not commend this problem to your attention and urge its thoughtful consideration. On many earlier occasions I have said, and your newspapers have constantly said, that these are times that appeal to every citizen's sense of sacrifice and self-discipline. They call out to every citizen to weigh his rights and comforts against his obligations to the common good. I cannot now believe that those citizens who serve in the newspaper business consider themselves exempt from that appeal. I have no intention of establishing a new Office of War Information to govern the flow of news. I am not suggesting any new forms of censorship or new types of security classifications. I have no easy answer to the dilemma that I have posed and would not seek to impose it if I had one. But I am asking the members of the newspaper profession.
See, and this is why you can kind of respect Kennedy, because, even Trump was, throwing out correspondence in the Biden administration. The Biden administration going after reporters. Or the Biden administration and the FBI in contact with Twitter to, quote, censor disinformation, and creating an office of disinformation that was very short-lived. But if you don't believe our government is doing this very thing to try to censor news reporting in the media and social media,
and the industry in this country to re-examine their own responsibilities, to consider the degree and the nature of the present danger, and to heed the duty of self-restraint, which that danger imposes upon us all. Every newspaper now asks itself, with respect to every story, is it news? All I suggest is that you add the question, is it in the interest of national security?
Is it good
and
for
I
the
hope
children?
That every group in America,
no, sorry.
Unions and businessmen and public officials at every level will ask the same question of their endeavors and subject their actions to this same exacting test. And should the press of America consider and recommend the voluntary assumption of specific new steps or machinery, I can assure you that we will cooperate wholeheartedly with those recommendations. Perhaps there will be no recommendations. Perhaps there is no answer to the dilemma faced by a free and open society in a cold and secret war. In times of peace, any discussion of this subject and any action that results are both painful and without precedent. But this is a time of peace and peril, which knows no precedent in history. It is the unprecedented nature of this challenge that also gives rise to your second obligation, an obligation which I share. And that is our obligation to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
If 60 years ago, a president facing a nuclear Cold
War and dedication of our
can respect
whenever
secrecy,
they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your
Or
readers,
can
I welcome
respect the freedom of the
it. This
press.
administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security, and we intend to do it. It was early in the 17th century that Francis Bacon remarked on three recent inventions already transforming the world: the compass, gunpowder, and the printing press. Now the links between the nations, first forged by the compass, have made us all citizens of the world, the hopes and threats of one becoming the hopes and threats of us all. In that one world's effort to live together, the evolution of gunpowder to its ultimate limit has warned mankind of the terrible consequences of failure. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance.
And what we get is
confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Okay, so that was President John F. Kennedy. And again, 60 years ago today, he was assassinated. And, you know, there are a lot of theories out there. And look, if you want me to cover, let me know down in the comments or in the chat if you would like to see me. I'm thinking about doing watch-alongs, potentially a third show every couple of weeks, doing watch-alongs, and doing a couple episodes each of stream of the Men Who Killed Kennedy 9-part documentary series that was produced by ITV and the History Channel. So if you'd like to see me do that, if you're interested in a watch along to that 9-part documentary series, like I said, I'd probably do two at a time. I might do 3 of the shorter ones in one of the streams, but kind of do like a 4-part program over the next few months. Let me know if you'd like to see me do a watch along of the Men Who Killed Kennedy, because I would definitely be interested in doing that if I have time. But I would literally have to make time for a third show every couple of weeks. It wouldn't be every week; it'd be every couple of weeks. But let me know if you'd like to see that. In the meantime, so let's check your whiteness here. We only have a couple minutes left, but we're just going to skim this. This is an opinion piece in Forbes last month, about a month ago. 3 ways to transform your workplace to be more equitable. Okay, so wait, what? This isn't it. This isn't what I wanted. Hang on. I was wrong about the date here. Wait, no. That was the original. Okay, so they have... Yeah, they have changed the title of this. They have edited the title of this. 3 ways to... Okay, so the original... Let me see here. Let me bring this down. Let me show you. Where is the back button? Why is my back button not there? Not working. Okay. Come on, go away. Okay, so here's the tweet. You can't see it because my banner's in the way. Hang on, let me remove the banner. Okay, so here's the tweet. 3 ways to decenter whiteness in your workplace, and that was the headline. So when you clicked this, it would bring it up, and wow, wow. And you can't see it, but in the title bar, you know, up on the tab at the top of the tab, it still says 3 ways to decenter whiteness up there. So they have renamed this article after the outrage. Wow. Now it's called 3 ways to transform your workplace to be more equitable. Guess they didn't realize how racist they were being against white people. But oh, look, it's still, look, the first paragraph, white centering can be thought of as a system that prioritizes white dominant culture to the detriment of non-white groups and cultures. White centering has been given many names, including the white gaze and whiteness as the default, because whitening, okay, hang on, let me open that in a new tab and see where that leads me. Okay, this is a catalyst.org report on anti-racism. Oh, dear Lord. There are an infinite number of ways that whiteness is centered within organizations. A 2004 study found that job applicants with black sounding names were less likely to receive callbacks, blah, blah, blah. Okay, white centering also impacts the advancement and the promotion process in a number of ways. The concrete ceiling describes the additional barriers that women of color face compared to white women when it comes to workplace advancement. And then studies, articles. Okay, but here we go. Here's how you can undo your whiteness at the workplace. 1, education. Despite the best laid plans of corporate America, DEI efforts have not been as successful as anticipated. A lot of companies are finding out that their DEI policies are leading to less profits. That's why. According to recent Catalyst report that explored workplace racism, whiteness as the default plays a pivotal role in allowing racist behaviors to continue. The acceptance of white dominant culture as the norm leads to the othering of employees that don't meet these standards. This problem is amplified because of the lack of understanding and awareness of how whiteness as a system is prioritized in our workplaces. Inviting experts and educators to facilitate learning is paramount. Okay, so in other words, I wrote a book on this. Please hire me to come talk to your company. DEI efforts will not be successful if there's a lack of education around how whiteness is centered in the workplace. So let me come preach to your white people about how white they are. Wow, horrible. Objectivity. Within workplace cultures, there are values, norms, and mores that employees quickly adapt to. These learned behaviors guide our understanding and influence our actions. How often do we stop and interrogate what is considered, quote, normal in our workplace and what measures can be put in place so that we can actively decenter white workplace norms? You see, do you have an example, right? Are you talking about like, because when you ask these questions, like you come up with some really fucking racist answers, like, you know, expecting people to be back on time from lunch, and like being late back from lunch isn't just a non-white thing, right? Expecting people to be on time isn't a white thing. It's a professional thing. And then, of course, these people would go on to say, well, what you view as professional is a white patriarchal system. Okay, whatever. You're wrong. You're wrong. And all I got to do is point to the white trash that used to be my neighbors, right? We've all worked with the white trash people or interacted with them in some way, and they have the same bad behaviors even though they have white skin. One of the best strategies is implementing objective criteria into workplace systems. When evaluating the most suitable candidates for a role or assessing employee performance, use a rubric or scorecard to gauge the set core of competency that an individual possesses. Do you have a calibration process in place so that there can be discussions among managers about employee evaluations? Think about integrating objective methods into workplace systems to actively decentering whiteness in the workplace. I literally don't know of a single workplace that I have worked for, or any of my friends or any of my family have worked for, that have not had some standard, like, employee review and evaluation system that had directly to do with the job, right? And of course, those things can be influenced by racist bias and stuff of managers. But let's be completely honest, like, that's not how the system was designed. That's the imperfection of the human beings working within the system. Accountability. Every employee should be responsible for the environment they're creating in the workplace, regardless of an employee's perceived productivity or performance. If they are causing racial harm, they must be held accountable for their actions. Accountability systems are a vital part of an organization's sustainability. In the workplace, a primary way that whiteness is centered through the acceptance of is through the acceptance of racist workplace behaviors. Many employees who have experienced racial harm have reported a lack of accountability for their perpetrators. Reported to who? Reported to who? And who was supposed to be held accountable and by who? You know, this is part of my problem. We have all of this propaganda about racism and sexism in the workplace, and yet I don't know. When I'm driving down the highway, there are billboards. There are billboards for shady attorneys just looking for these kind. Discriminated against, call so and so law firm at 444-4444. You know, like, these billboards are everywhere. Like, sue. Like, literally sue. A lot of these lawyers will take your case on contingency if you have actual proof that you can report that you've been discriminated against in the workplace. Okay. But no, you know, work is just a racist thing. It is what it is. So we went over time, and that's okay, because hey man, cheers. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I just a real quick report. My diet, I'm almost to 250, which was my goal. I was gonna bless myself with a cheat day at my favorite all-you-can-eat place. But I was also gonna bless myself with a cheat day every holiday. Talk to my family. We're gonna combine the two. We're gonna do the buffet for Thanksgiving, and so I get to cheat on my diet for one day and splurge and eat all the fucking calories I want, and I get one day to do it, and I'm almost at 250. I'm gonna go back on my diet. I'm gonna burn those calories off. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Cheers. I hope you have a filling meal, and that you know, whatever NFL team you root for, you know, has a good week, and that your family isn't too stressful and annoying if you have such. Once again, I would like to remind everyone that I'm going to be over on the Talk with Sally channel, hanging out with Sally while she cooks Thanksgiving dinner. The link is down in the description, of whether you're on YouTube or Rumble. The link to her channel on whichever one you're watching on. The link to her channel is going to be down in the description of this video. I'm going to be on her channel here in just under an hour. So at the top of the hour, or wait, maybe that's, no, I'm sorry. That's going to be 2 hours from now. My bad. 2 hours from now, I'm going to be over on the Talk with Sally channel. come check it out down at that link down in the description. We're gonna be hamming it up while she hams it up. So yeah, and also yeah, come back here Saturday, 6 p.m. Central. Still planning on being on time Saturday, 6 p.m. Central, for the next episode of Mild's Culture Plate. Wherever you're watching it now, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, or X. And, thank you for stopping by. Please, if you have just a moment, click that thumbs up, click that like button. Let me go ahead and put that in the banner here. Click that like button. Oh, wait, I got rid of my banner. Oops. Okay, so yeah, don't click that like button. Don't look for the banner. Just click the like button. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to chat next time. Please, if you're new to the channel, please watch one more video. Just take the time and watch one more video. Just have it playing in the background while you're playing video games or something. Just watch one more video. I hear that's the big thing about the algorithms now, is being able to enjoy one program and then springboard that into watching a second episode. Like, that's really helps with the algorithm reporting and spreading somebody's channel. So yeah, the like, share it off platform, but yeah, watch another video. That's something you could really do to help spread the word that Mild's Culture Plate is out here. Okay, so DNL Mentor says happy Thanksgiving. Sangland 86 says see is and happy diabetic comas. Everyone out there, cheers again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Outlast the haters. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub that shit in real good. I'll catch you next time on Mild's Culture Plate. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. Peace.